Chapter 3201. No, I have to take Lan Ling away too. Wu Fan shouted. What law did that girl break? You want to take her away? Holy Old Heavenly King asked. She's my fiancée. Of course I have to take her away. Wu Fan bit the bullet and said. Bullshit, since when did Ling become your fiancée? The matter between you and the Lan family has nothing to do with me and Ling. I've had nothing to do with the Lan family for a long time. Blue Merchant shouted. Oh, so you're forcing a deal? How dare you? Holy Old Heavenly King's eyes flashed, and a terrifying aura spread out. Even though he was hiding behind Captain Wu, Wu Fan sat down in midair, and almost peed his pants when he was suppressed by the aura. He had a feeling that Holy Old Heavenly King could kill him with just one look. Captain Wu's body trembled, and he took a few steps back. His eyes were filled with horror. It was just an aura, but it made him feel like he could not bear it. He knew that the gap between him and Holy Old Heavenly King was too big. Also, what do you plan to do with Blue Merchant after taking him away? Holy Old Heavenly King looked at Captain Wu. Captain Wu swallowed his saliva and said respectfully, I'll handle it impartially. I'll report it to the Holy Emperor and await his punishment. You'd better do that. I don't want anyone to interfere with the Imperial Guards. Otherwise, I'll go to the Holy Emperor and ask him. Holy Old Heavenly King glanced at Wu Fan. His meaning was obvious. He hoped that the Imperial Guards would handle the matter impartially, and did not want the Imperial Tutor's residence to interfere with Blue Merchant. Don't worry, Holy Old Heavenly King. This will not happen, Captain Wu said hurriedly. His back was drenched in cold sweat. He knew that if he did not handle this matter well, his future would be bleak. Wu Fan's face turned ugly. He had planned to use some underhanded means to kill Blue Merchant. However, it seemed that Captain Wu would not let him do so. Senior, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. Captain Wu cupped his fists and gave his subordinates a look. Then he led Blue Merchant away. Wu Fan glared fiercely at Lan Ling before he left with Blue Maple. Senior, please save my father. Lan Ling begged the Old Heavenly King with tears in her eyes. Don't worry. The Holy Academy of the Great Void Imperial Family is about to open. In the 100 years before and after the opening of the Holy Academy of the Great Void Imperial Family, the Imperial Guards in the Holy Emperor Palace generally won't touch prisoners. I'll think of a way after a while. Let's go. After the Old Heavenly King finished speaking, he waved his hand and brought Lan Ling back to the place where the Blue Merchant and the others originally lived. Lu Ming naturally had no idea what was happening outside. He wholeheartedly cultivated under the sacred Heaven Jade Annulus, comprehending all kinds of divine powers. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, he had cultivated for 35 days under the sagely Heaven Jade Wall. His time was up. Lu Ming opened his eyes and ended his cultivation. There was a hint of joy in his eyes. After 35 days of cultivation, he had gained a lot. Originally, he had a total of 3 kinds of divine powers. After awakening the origin divine power factor, he still had 5 kinds of divine powers that were 99% awakened. However, after 35 days of cultivation, the other 5 kinds of divine powers had all broken through and awakened the origin divine power factor. In this way, his 8 kinds of divine powers had all awakened the origin divine power factor, causing his strength to soar. This sacred Heaven Jade Wall is really amazing. It can steal the fortune of heaven and earth. Wouldn't the geniuses of the Bone Sword tribe be super terrifying? Lu Ming thought to himself. If they cultivated under the sacred Heaven Jade Wall every day, wouldn't the people of the Bone Sword tribe be super powerful? However, on second thought, that might not be the case. This was because the sacred Heaven Jade Wall required a large amount of energy to maintain this effect. Also, not everyone would have the same effect as Lu Ming when cultivating under the sacred Heaven Jade Wall. The more talented one was, the better the effect. If one's talent was poor, the effect would naturally be poor. Also, Lu Ming speculated that if the origin divine power factor was awakened too many times, for example, after awakening it twice, the effect would be greatly reduced. Lu Ming had personally verified this point. After awakening all 5 types of divine grade God Force, Huang Xiaolong still had 2 days left. In these 2 days, he spent his time comprehending the sovereign's God Force. He hoped that he could take another step forward and awaken his origin God force twice. However, the improvement of the sovereign divine power was not particularly shocking. The reason why the other 5 kinds of divine powers improved so much was that they had not been awakened before. Once they were awakened, the effect of comprehending them would be greatly reduced. Otherwise, the sacred heaven jade wall would be too heaven-defying. No matter how strong the Bone Sword tribe was, they would not be able to keep it. Mid-Autumn Moon had one more day than Lu Ming. Lu Ming waited quietly. A day passed quickly and Mid-Autumn Moon also finished cultivating. After Mid-Autumn Moon finished cultivating, the two did not stay and left the Bone Sword tribe. On the way, Mid-Autumn Moon, how's your cultivation? Lu Ming asked. My other divine powers have awakened the origin divine power factor. Young master, how about you? Mid-Autumn Moon blinked and asked. All awakened? Good. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Mid-Autumn Moon's divine powers were almost the same as his. This meant that Mid-Autumn Moon's other divine powers had also awakened the origin divine power factor. Same for me. Lu Ming smiled. The two chatted as they walked towards their residence. When they returned to their residence, they saw Lan Ling in a daze. Miss Lan, where's Lan Shu? Lu Ming asked. Father, he. After being asked by Lu Ming, Lan Ling's big eyes were filled with mist and tears almost fell out. What's wrong with Lan Shu? Lu Ming's heart trembled. He had a bad feeling. Father, he was taken away by the Imperial Guards. Lan Ling said. As she spoke, tears rolled down her cheeks. At this moment, Lan Ling was no longer the arrogant Lan Ling, but a helpless and weak girl. Taken away by the Imperial Guards? What happened? Lu Ming hurriedly asked. Immediately, Lan Ling told him what happened that day. Blue Maple Wu Fan, damn it. Lu Ming growled, emitting a cold murderous intent. All these years, although he called Blue Merchant Lan Shu in his heart, he had already regarded him as his teacher. Now, Blue Merchant had encountered such injustice. He was furious and wanted to kill his way to the Imperial Guards and save Blue Merchant. Lu Ming took a few deep breaths to calm himself down. With his current cultivation, if he killed his way to the Imperial Guards, any Imperial Guard would be able to kill him with a slap. Where's the holy old heavenly king? Where is he? I'll pay him a visit. Lu Ming continued to ask. Little guy, are you looking for me? A voice suddenly sounded behind Lu Ming. It was very close. Lu Ming was shocked. There was someone behind him, but he didn't feel it at all. He hurriedly turned around and saw an old man smiling at him. Chapter 3202. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He immediately understood that this was the old heavenly king. Greetings, senior heavenly king. Lu Ming cupped his fists and bowed. Qiu Moon also bowed together with Lu Ming. No need to be so polite. The old heavenly king waved his hand, and a gentle force lifted Lu Ming. Then the old heavenly king stared at Lu Ming with bright eyes and nodded. Not bad, not bad, not bad at all. Lu Ming was a little confused for a moment. Senior, may I know how to save Lan Shu? If there's anything you need, I'll do my best. Lu Ming asked. There is a way to save Blue Merchant. The old heavenly king said. There is a way? What is it? Lu Ming, Lan Ling, and Qiu Moon's eyes lit up. Only you three can do it. The old heavenly king said. Us. Lu Ming and the other two were puzzled. The three of them were just juniors. Their cultivation base was not high. Compared to the colossus of the Taishu dynasty, they were not worth mentioning. How could they save Blue Merchant? The opportunity to save Blue Merchant is when the Taishu Imperial Sacred Courtyard is held. The old heavenly king continued to explain. Every time the Taishu Imperial Sacred Courtyard is held, those who enter the top 10 will be qualified to establish their own family. However, those who enter the top 3 will not only be qualified to establish their own family, but also can make a request to the Heavenly King. As long as the request is not too harsh, the Heavenly King will usually agree to it. So as long as one of you enters the top 3 when the Taishu Imperial Sacred Courtyard is held, you can propose to the Heavenly King to release Blue Merchant. This condition is not too harsh. I believe the Heavenly King will agree to it. Enter the top 3. Lu Ming and the other two's eyes lit up, but then dimmed. During this period, They had already seen some terrifying geniuses. There were too many experts. Not to mention the top 3, even if it was the top 10, Lu Ming would feel a lot of pressure. He was not confident. The top 3 were many times more difficult. Lan Ling in particular clenched her fists and trembled. She knew very well that even if she had awakened her origin source secret technique, with her strength, she had no hope of entering the top 10, let alone the top 3. She felt hopeless. To be honest, with your current strength, not to mention the top 3, you might not even be able to enter the top 10. The old Heavenly King attacked mercilessly. Top 3, what should we do? There's only a few decades left. Unless I can break through to the Divine King realm in a few decades, I'll have a chance. But how can I do that in a few decades? Lu Ming's mind raced. If he were to cultivate step by step, he would definitely not be able to break through. What should he do? For a moment, Lu Ming had no idea what to do. This old man can give you a chance. At this moment, the old Heavenly King spoke again. What opportunity? Lu Ming and the other 2 showed a glimmer of hope. A jade bottle appeared in the old Heavenly King's hand and said, "Inside this jade bottle, there's a large formation that this old man has set up. It's very beneficial for the cultivation of the Divine King realm. Go in and cultivate. As for how much you can gain, it depends on your own fortune." Lu Ming and the other 2 naturally agreed without hesitation. The old Heavenly King's cultivation was unfathomable. The formation that he set up must be extraordinary. However, this old man reminds you that you will have to face extreme pain when you enter the jade bottle. You must be mentally prepared. The old Heavenly King said. It's okay, a little pain is nothing. Lan Ling clenched her fists. Lu Ming and Qiu Yu had determined looks in their eyes. If you want to gain, you naturally have to pay a price. A little pain was nothing. Senior, let the 2 of them go in first. I still have something to do. I'll go in later. At this moment Lu Ming spoke. According to the old Heavenly King's words, his cultivation might break through if he entered the jade bottle to cultivate. If Lu Ming continued to break through, he would reach the Divine King realm. However, Lu Ming still had 2 types of divine force in his dantian, the Golden Dragon Divine Force and the Multi-Eyed Divine Force. These 2 types of divine force were not divine-grade divine force. Lu Ming wanted to break through to the Divine King realm with all of his divine-grade divine force. Otherwise, it would be best to disperse these 2 types of divine force. Once they formed a star nucleus, it would be difficult to change them after breaking through to the Divine King realm. For example, Autumn Moon used to have 2 types of divine force that were not divine-grade divine force. Before she broke through to the Divine King realm, she had dispersed them. In any case, after breaking through, he could cultivate other divine-grade divine powers. However, if he broke through with a divine-grade divine power before breaking through to the God King realm, it would be very difficult for him to find a divine-grade divine power with similar attributes to his own. Lu Ming had 2 paths in front of him. One was to disperse the Multi-Eyed Divine Force and the Golden Dragon Divine Force. The other was to find a divine-grade divine force that corresponded to the 2 types of divine force. After cultivating for so long, it would be a pity to disperse them. Lu Ming planned to find a divine-grade divine force with similar attributes to the 2 types of divine force. Lu Ming did not find any in the Nineju Heavenly King residence. However, this was the Great Void Holy Capital. There should be a divine-grade divine force with similar attributes. Alright, the 2 of them can go in first. The old Heavenly King nodded his head in satisfaction. He then pulled out the cap of the jade bottle. From the opening of the jade bottle, a faint divine light spread out. At the same time, a suction force enveloped Autumn Moon and Lan Ling. Autumn Moon and Lan Ling's bodies involuntarily flew towards the opening of the jade bottle. Their bodies became smaller and smaller, until they disappeared into the opening of the jade bottle. How much you can gain will depend on yourselves. This is all I can do to help. The old Heavenly King said softly as he closed the jade bottle. Senior, I'll be heading out for a while. I'll be back soon. Lu Ming cupped his fists at the old Heavenly King. He then left his residence and headed towards the largest market in the Great Void Holy Capital. Since the Great Void Holy Capital was so prosperous, the market was also bustling. There were all sorts of treasures available. Lu Ming specifically looked for shops that sold all sorts of divine skills, secret techniques, and divine skills. After inquiring about a few clans, Lu Ming finally found two kinds of mystical techniques. One of them was called the Divine Eye Heaven Incantation, which was a divine-grade divine power similar to the multi-eyed divine power. The second one was called the Primordial Dragon Mantra. The primordial dragon force that was cultivated was also of the divine grade, similar to the Golden Dragon Force. After finding the two types of divine skills, Lu Ming was overjoyed. After flipping through them, Lu Ming memorized the two types of divine skills and returned to his residence. "Senior, I'm ready," Lu Ming said. "All right, go in." The old heavenly king took out the jade bottle and pointed it at Lu Ming. Lu Ming felt a suction force acting on him as his body flew towards the opening of the jade bottle. After Lu Ming entered the jade bottle, he felt a strong force pulling him downwards. Soon he landed at the bottom. He looked around and did not see Autumn Moon and Lan Ling presumably. They were scattered and not in the same place. Chapter 3203. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew and divine light filled the air, sweeping toward Lu Ming. Divine lights from all directions shrouded Lu Ming in an instant, forming a terrifying wind pressure. Bam! Lu Ming almost fell to his knees from the wind pressure. Pain. Instantly, Lu Ming felt a tearing pain all over his body. His skin, muscles, and bones felt like they were about to be torn apart by the wind. Endless pain drowned him. "Block it, block it." Lu Ming roared and circulated his divine power with all his might. The 10 divine power vortexes in his body spun rapidly. 10 types of divine power gushed out and covered his body, resisting the wind pressure from the outside world. However, the divine power vibrated and was constantly being worn down. Lu Ming then used the 9 layers of crimson gold armor and ice chains, but they were all useless. They were completely worn down. The wind pressure continued to act on him. Endless pain came. Lu Ming growled. He could only stabilize his mind and resist the endless pain. But in the next moment, Lu Ming made a discovery. As he resisted, there was a strange energy in the surroundings that seeped into his body and merged with his divine power. It made his divine body and divine power slowly strengthen. The wind pressure formed by the divine light could even seep into the depths of his divine power and temper his cyclone. As a result, the divine power in the cyclone continued to condense, becoming more and more solid. The cyclone was slowly approaching the star core. Although this kind of improvement was not very fast, it was many times faster than cultivating step by step outside. Moreover, it was improving all the time. This kind of improvement could be seen and felt. Over time, the rate of improvement would be astonishing. Just like that, Lu Ming endured it and tempered himself in this kind of pain. The jade bottle was a furnace, and Lu Ming was like a weapon being tempered. Not only him, but Lan Ling was also going through the same thing in the autumn moon. Day after day, time flew by quickly. Later, Lu Ming found that not only could his divine body and divine power be tempered, but even his soul was being tempered. Although the improvement was far less than the divine body and divine power. However, every bit of improvement in the soul was rare and precious. First, I'll cultivate the Divine Eye Heaven art and the Archean Dragon Mantra. Lu Ming's heart moved. He used these 2 divine techniques to cultivate these 2 divine powers with the help of the external tempering. Lu Ming only needed to cultivate the first level. Lu Ming was very familiar with the cultivation of divine techniques. Not long after, he cultivated the divine power of 2 types of divine-grade divine techniques. After a while, Lu Ming ignited the divine fire and integrated the multi-eyed divine power and the golden dragon divine power into the divine fire. After the fusion, the 2 divine powers began to strengthen these 2 divine powers. In such an environment, these 2 divine powers improved very quickly. After a few years, these 2 divine powers grew to the half-step God-King realm. They were the same as other divine powers, but they did not awaken their divine power origin factor. When these 2 divine powers reached the half-step God-King realm, the next step was to break through to the God-King realm. Just like that, day after day, year after year passed. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had cultivated here for 30 years. Over the past 30 years, Lu Ming cultivated day and night, enduring the pain all the time. His body, including his soul, seemed to have been reforged and looked brand new. 30 years of perseverance, day after day, was exchanged for great gains. In his dantian, the 10 divine power vortexes were condensed to the extreme. They emitted a sparkling light like 10 suns. Boom! Suddenly, the 10 divine power vortexes let out a rumbling sound. And then a powerful energy burst out, forming circular shockwaves that rushed out in all directions. Lu Ming's body surged with a powerful aura. This was the aura of a god king. He broke through. After 30 years of arduous cultivation, the 10 types of divine powers in Lu Ming's dantian had finally transformed from divine power vortexes into star cores. The 10 star cores floated in his dantian, shining brightly. At the same time, from all directions, waves of powerful energy converged towards Lu Ming. In this jade bottle, other than the array, there was an endless stream of energy. These energies poured into Lu Ming's body and were refined, turning into divine power. In his dantian, the 10 star cores became more solid. Lu Ming's realm also slowly stabilized. Lu Ming did not stop. He continued to cultivate. Time passed, year after year. After an unknown amount of time, a suction force suddenly acted on Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming involuntarily flew upwards. In the next moment, the surroundings changed. Lu Ming looked around and found that he had returned to the courtyard where Blue Merchant had lived. Beside him, Autumn Moon and Lan Ling were also there. The two of them were also looking around. All right, there are still 3 months before the Great Void Imperial Academy opens. You should familiarize yourselves with your current realms. An old voice sounded. It was old Heavenly King Qiansheng. Thank you, Holy Thousand King. Lu Ming cupped his fists in gratitude. This time he had gained a lot. The 10 divine grade divine powers in his body had all transformed into star cores. He had entered the God King realm. Moreover, his cultivation had reached the peak of the first heaven of the God King realm. Compared to before his breakthrough, his divine power was much stronger. His strength had skyrocketed. You're welcome. Familiarize yourselves with your new realms. Holy Thousand King waved his hand and kept the jade bottle. In the next moment he disappeared. He was really elusive. How's your progress? Lu Ming looked at Autumn Moon and Lan Ling. Young master, I've broken through. Autumn Moon's crisp voice sounded. Then, a powerful aura spread out from her body. Third heaven of the God King realm. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Autumn Moon's progress was amazing. Before entering the jade bottle, Autumn Moon's cultivation base had just reached the second heaven of the God King realm. Now, she had reached the third heaven of the God King realm. She was not far from the fourth heaven of the God King realm. One should know that Autumn Moon had mastered 8 divine grade divine powers. It would be difficult for her to improve. This was definitely a big gain. In addition, Autumn Moon had mastered the God-killing light and the God's blade. This time, when the Great Void Imperial Academy opened, she would definitely give everyone a big surprise. Boom. On the other side, Lan Ling's body also emitted a powerful aura. Third heaven of the God King realm. Lan Ling had also broken through to the third heaven of the God King realm. She had been in the first heaven of the God King realm before, but now she had broken through twice. However, it was normal. Lan Ling had only cultivated one type of divine power. It was much easier for her to break through compared to Lu Ming and Autumn Moon. It was normal for her to break through to the third heaven of the God King realm. Lu Ming, come. Let's exchange some pointers. This time, I will defeat you. Lan Ling's eyes were bright as she looked at Lu Ming. Her cultivation base had reached the third heaven of the God King realm, and she had awakened the origin secret technique. This had boosted Lan Ling's confidence. All right, let's exchange some pointers. Lu Ming smiled. Chapter 3204. This time, the 3 of them had experienced a surge in their cultivation, but they didn't have the time to experience it properly. It was inevitable that they wouldn't be able to use it smoothly. That was why Holy Old Heavenly King had released them a few months earlier to let them experience it properly. Sparring with each other would undoubtedly allow them to control their own strength better and faster. Lan Ling's body emitted a powerful aura as she fully released her third-layer Divine King Realm cultivation. Clang! The sound of a sword rang out as Lan Ling drew her sword. A dazzling sword light slashed towards Lu Ming. Its speed and power were shocking. A long spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand as he circulated the 10 types of divine power in his body. It surged towards the long spear like floodwaters. At the same time, Lu Ming activated the battle character secret art to quadruple his fighting strength and swept out his spear. Clang! The long spear and the sword light collided, causing a violent explosion. Then Lan Ling's sword light shook violently as her body was pushed back. How is your strength so strong? Lan Ling was shocked. In the Divine King realm, the gap between each layer was huge. She was 2 layers higher than Lu Ming, but Lu Ming didn't use his origin secret technique. In a head-on clash, she was no match for him. You're not strong enough. Lu Ming shook his head. Take this. Lan Ling snorted. A ray of divine light appeared in her hand, emitting an ancient fluctuation. It merged with the battle sword in her hand. Origin secret technique. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He didn't expect Lan Ling to have also awakened her origin secret technique. Whoosh! Lan Ling thrust her sword towards Lu Ming again. After using her origin secret technique, the power of Lan Ling's sword. The God's Gate appeared above Lu Ming's head and suppressed Lan Ling. The God's Gate collided with Lan Ling's sword light. The result was the same as before. Lan Ling was pushed back by Lu Ming. Again. Lan Ling gritted her teeth and charged towards Lu Ming again. The two of them exchanged a few moves. Lan Ling was completely at a disadvantage. She wasn't Lu Ming's opponent. Although Lan Ling was at the 3rd layer Divine King realm, she had only awakened her origin divine powers origin secret technique. On the other hand, Lu Ming had mastered 10 types of divine powers. 8 of them had awakened the origin divine power factor. In addition, he had triggered the Battle Word Sutra to increase his combat power by 4 times. Although the difference between the Divine King Realm and King Realm Divine King Secret King Realms Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming could make use of these advantages to close the gap of 2 cultivation levels. Of course, if Lan Ling's divine power factor had been awakened twice, it would be difficult for Lu Ming to equalize the difference. He might have to use the ancient god body. All in all, Lan Ling's strength had increased a lot. With her current fighting strength, she could kill an ordinary 4th layer Divine King Realm warrior. If it was before Lu Ming had broken through to the King Realm, it would have been difficult for him to deal with her. But now it was easy for him. After a dozen moves, Lan Ling's origin secret technique had exhausted her origin secret technique. She stopped the fight. Then Lu Ming and Qiu Moon exchanged moves. Qiu Moon had reached the 3rd layer Divine King Realm. She was truly terrifying. The two of them had exchanged dozens of moves, but there was no clear winner. Of course, the two of them were holding back. They didn't use their trump cards. Lu Ming was surprised by Qiu Moon's strength. He estimated that even if he used his trump cards, he wouldn't be able to defeat Qiu Moon. Then the 3 of them took turns to exchange moves. Soon they were able to control their origin secret technique and their origin secret technique. At this time, there was still a month before the opening of the Great Void Imperial Academy. At this time, Lu Ming had another great breakthrough. Lu Ming had awakened the origin secret technique of the Sovereign Secret Technique. The origin secret technique had awakened a second time. Originally, the origin secret technique of the Sovereign Secret Technique had been at the peak of the first awakening for many years. This time, Lu Ming's cultivation had increased sharply. He had entered the King Realm, and his understanding of the various origin secret techniques had increased by a large margin. In addition, he had become more familiar with the usage of his origin secret technique. Naturally, the Sovereign Secret Technique had awakened a second time. All of this happened naturally. The second awakening of the Sovereign Secret Technique had undoubtedly raised Lu Ming's fighting strength to another level. Top 3. Lu Ming clenched his fists. His gaze was resolute. This time he had to enter the top 3 and rescue Blue Merchant. On this day, the 3 of them did not continue to spar. Instead, they left their residence and went out for a walk. They wanted to find out more about the current situation. Of course, the main point was to find out which origin secret technique of the current origin secret technique had the most potential to enter the top 10. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will be victorious. As soon as they went out, they realized that the Great Void Holy City had become even more lively. The Great Void Holy City was vast and its surface area was shocking. However, walking on the streets still felt like there was a sea of people. Various races walked on the streets. It was very lively. Soon, they heard a lot of useful information. This was because countless people were guessing which origin secret technique of the sovereign secret technique would enter the top 10 this time. This time, the origin secret technique of the sovereign secret technique has gathered. However, the ones most likely to enter the top 10 are still the 10 talents of the Holy Capital. That's right. In the past, the 10 talents of the Holy Capital had the highest chance of entering the top 10. Of course, there are exceptions. This time, there are definitely exceptions. This is because the various Heavenly King palaces have also produced many terrifying origin secret techniques. For example, the Holy Maiden of the Thousand Saints Heavenly King Palace, Qian Shengxian. She is extremely talented and her combat strength is shocking. She has a chance of entering the top 10. There is also the Unparalleled Heavenly King Palace, which is ranked first among the 27 Heavenly King Palaces. They have also produced a terrifying origin secret technique. He is definitely not weaker than Qian Shengxian. What is even more shocking is that he is from the Great Zhou Heavenly King Palace. Haven't you heard of the unparalleled swordsman Di Jinni? This person was born in a small world. However, he killed his way up and displayed his unparalleled talent. It is said that in that small world, this person is known as the Shocking Sword Emperor. This shows how powerful he is. Don't forget about another person. That is the War God family of the Nine Blades Heavenly King Palace. It is said that this generation of the War God family has produced a terrifying person. He is said to be the most talented person in the history of the War God family. He is known as the reincarnation of the War God family. He is going to lead the War God family to its former glory. He is extremely terrifying. Lu Ming and the other two walked around and heard information about the terrifying origin secret technique of the talents of the Heavenly King Palace. Di Jinni? Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Among all the origin secret techniques, he was the most interested in this person. This was because, like him, Di Jinni had also killed his way out of a small world. I wonder which one of them is the white-haired youth that we met back then? Lu Ming thought of the white-haired youth that he had met in the Bone Sword Tribe's secret realm. That white-haired youth had terrifying combat strength. Moreover, he had mastered the origin source ancient characters. His strength was unfathomable, and he was definitely someone who could enter the top 10. The three of them walked around and collected the records of the origin secret techniques of the talents that people thought highly of. They planned to study them. Chapter 3205. Big news, big news. The number one prodigy of the War God family, Chu Chengkong, is challenging one of the 10 heroes of the Holy Capital, Deadly Spear Yuan Jie. Suddenly, a piece of news blew up in the streets. What? Chu Chengkong is challenging Deadly Spear Yuan Jie? Is this for real? Countless people were shocked. Chu Chengkong was the strongest prodigy of the War God family. He was known as the man who had surpassed the War God. And Deadly Spear Yuan Jie was one of the 10 heroes of the Holy Capital. The core area of the Taishu dynasty was vast. It was far above the various heavenly kings, and had given birth to countless prodigies. Among the countless prodigies, those who could be ranked as one of the 10 heroes were definitely terrifying existences. The two of them were going to fight in advance. It was hard not to cause a commotion. Where is their challenge? When is it? In half a day at the Qilin battle stage. In half a day? Quick, there's not much time left. Let's go to the Qilin battle stage. Let's go. Instantly, countless people swarmed towards the Qilin battle stage. The transportation arrays to the Qilin battle stage were also full. Lu Ming, Autumn Moon, and Lan Ling also headed towards the Qilin battle stage. Two prodigies who were expected to enter the top 10 would fight in advance. This was a good opportunity to see each other's strength and compare it with their own. How could they miss it? When the three of them finally arrived at the Qilin battle stage, they realized that it was already packed with people. Countless people were surrounding a vast fighting ring. Around the battle stage, There were 4 huge Qilin statues guarding the 4 directions. This battle platform was very famous in the Great Illusionary Divine region. It was said that even godly lords could fight on it without damaging the battle platform at all. Ordinary people who wanted to fight on this battle stage were not qualified. The battle stage would not open, and was covered by a large array. However, with Chu Chengkong and Yuan Jie's fame, they were still qualified to fight on this battle stage. Who do you think is stronger between Chu Chengkong and Yuan Jie? Many people were waiting and chatting as they guessed the strength of the two. It's hard to say. However, I have seen Yuan Jie in action. His spear is deadly and his combat strength is terrifying. Even if he is a divine king, it's a piece of cake for him to kill someone of a higher realm than him. I wonder how powerful Chu Chengkong is. Chu Chengkong is known as the strongest genius in the history of the War God clan. He should not be weak, right? I've never seen him in action. Everything is fake. Who doesn't know how to brag? That's true. There was a lot of discussion at the scene. Some people favored Yuan Jie, while others favored Chu Chengkong. Look, that's the Thousand Sage proclamation from the Thousand Sage Heavenly King Manor. Suddenly, someone looked in a certain direction. There was a woman with a long skirt that fluttered in the wind. Her beauty was unparalleled, and her appearance was not inferior to Autumn Moon or Lan Ling. The peerless goddess, Qian Shengxian, was a very popular genius. Also, the heaven-startling sword emperor, Di Jianyi. Another person exclaimed. In another direction, a silver-haired young man stood in the air, his white robes fluttering in the wind. It's him. He is Di Jianyi. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. This young man was the white-haired young man that he had met in the Bone Sword tribe's secret territory. He was the one who controlled the Origin ancient characters. It turned out that this person was Di Jianyi. Like Lu Ming, he was a peerless genius from a pocket dimension. Following that, people kept exclaiming because they recognized many peerless geniuses. Several of the 10 prodigies of the Holy Capital had come. Obviously, these people were very concerned about Chu Chengkong and Yuan Jie's strength, and regarded them as potential opponents. Time flew by quickly. Yuan Jie is here. Suddenly someone shouted. Everyone looked in a certain direction. In the sky, a black-robed young man with a long spear on his back walked over step by step. This person was Deadly Spear Yuan Jie. Yuan Jie's eyes were sharp, and his body emitted a terrifying killing intent that was as cold as a knife. Wherever he passed, the crowd automatically made a path for him. Open the battle stage. A loud roar reverberated throughout the scene. A burly man in charge of guarding the Qilin battle stage began to control the array. The array lit up, and the array that enveloped the Qilin battle stage was opened. Yuan Jie stepped out and landed on the Qilin battle stage. Haha, Yuan Jie, you're right on time. At this moment, a loud laugh came from another direction. Another young man walked over. This young man was extremely burly and wore a black armor. A domineering aura filled the air. Chu Chengkong. Everyone knew that Chu Chengkong had arrived. Chu Chengkong walked in the air and landed on the Qilin battle stage, facing Yuan Jie. You're the only one among the 10 prodigies who uses a spear. Coincidentally, I also use a spear. Everyone is comparing the two of us. I'd like to know how strong your spear technique is. Chu Chengkong spoke in a loud and domineering voice. He'll take your life. Yuan Jie said coldly, and his killing intent intensified. Ha ha ha, if you can take my life, I can only blame myself for not being skilled enough. But to be frank, you don't have the ability to do so. Chu Chengkong smiled, looking very confident. Whether I have the ability or not, we'll know in a battle. Yuan Jie's voice was still cold. As soon as he finished speaking, a violent aura erupted from his body. A spear light soared into the sky and pierced through the sky. Roar, 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 roar. The 4 Qilin statues around the Qilin battle stage roared. Then a light barrier spread out and covered the Qilin battle stage. In this way, no matter how fierce the battle was inside, the energy would not leak out. The long spear on Yuan Jie's back flew out. He held it in his hand and pointed it at Chu Chengkong. Make your move. Chu Chengkong's eyes were filled with a strong battle intent. A long spear appeared in his hand, and a powerful aura was released. Peak of the third layer of the King God realm. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Chu Chengkong and Yuan Jie's cultivation were both at the peak of the third layer of the King God realm. They had not broken through to the fourth layer of the King God realm. There was a big gap between the third layer of the King God realm and the fourth layer of the King God realm. It seemed like many of the top geniuses were at the third layer of the King God realm. Seeing this, Lu Ming heaved a sigh of relief. These people's cultivation was not too strong. Lu Ming had a higher chance of winning. If these people's cultivation had reached the fourth layer of the King God realm, or the fifth layer of the King God realm, coupled with their talents, it would be too terrifying. No matter how strong Lu Ming was, he would not be a match for them. However, it made sense. Those who were able to participate in the Great Void Imperial Family's Sacred Institute were not too old. The older ones had already entered the Great Void Imperial Family's Sacred Institute. Therefore, these people's cultivation would not be too high. Boom! Chu Chengkong and Yuan Jie's auras clashed in the air, resulting in a loud explosion. Suddenly, the two of them moved at the same time and charged at each other. The crowd could only see two spear lights rushing at each other. They were so fast that it was hard to see them clearly. Chapter 3206. The two spear lights collided with each other, then retreated and continued to charge at each other. Clang, clang, clang. Dense sounds of collisions echoed throughout the entire area, and the rumbling continued. In an instant, the two of them had exchanged dozens of blows. Then both of them retreated and stood in the air. They were evenly matched. The spectators held their breaths in concentration. They all knew that the exchange just now was only a test between the two, and they did not use their full strength. What followed next was the real battle between the two of them. Deadly 18 spears. Yuan Jie said in a cold voice. An ancient and desolate aura emanated from his body. That was the aura of the Origin Divine Power Factor, and it was extremely dense. Second awakening of the Origin Divine Power Factor. Lu Ming could tell at a glance. This was within Lu Ming's expectations. At this level of cultivation, it was far too difficult to awaken the Divine Power Origin Factor a third time. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Lu Ming didn't know if any of the geniuses had awakened their divine powers 3 times. Even if there were, it would be extremely rare. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, spear light bloomed in Yuan Jie's hand. Streaks of pitch-black spear shadows shot toward Chu Chengkong with terrifying killing intent. Fast, it was extremely fast. The life-seizing spear was known as the life-seizing spear. Its greatest power was its speed. Life-reaping spear. Interesting. War God strike. Chu Chengkong said coldly. The armor on his body emitted a dazzling light. As he waved his spear, a huge war god appeared in the sky. This war god was riding on a warhorse. The warhorse stepped into the air and swept its huge spear horizontally, blocking Yuan Jie's spear shadow. There was no doubt that Chu Chengkong's divine power had also undergone a second awakening. The two of them engaged in an intense battle, but for a time, they were still tied. There's no need to test him. Let's go all out and not waste time. Chu Chengkong stepped forward and clenched his fist in the air. The spear in his hand disappeared, and was replaced by another ancient stone spear. Tyrant God Spear. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. This was Chu Chengkong's secret skill of origin, which was exactly the same as Lu Ming's secret skill of origin. It was also the tyrannical God Spear. Chu Chengkong's aura became even more violent as soon as he used the secret skill of origin. Boom. The enormous spear light pressed down on Yuan Jie. Life Steel Flash. Yuan Jie let out a long howl. His body began to flicker rapidly. Every time he flickered, a ray of spear light would be thrust at Chu Chengkong. Origin Source Secret Technique. This was also an Origin Source Secret Technique that belonged to Yuan Jie. This was their true strength. At the peak of the third sky of King God Realm, the god power of the Origin had awakened for the second time, and he had awakened the secret technique of the Origin. This kind of competence was enough to crush the other geniuses easily. Unending river of spear Dao. Chu Chengkong waved his spear and a long river appeared around him, surrounding him. This long river was actually completely composed of endless spear lights. War God Strike. With a single glance, Lu Ming could tell that this was a move from the War God Strike. It was extremely powerful. With Lu Ming's current comprehension of the war god strike, he was still unable to use this move. Chu Chenkong and Yuan Jia were both using their best moves. The intense battle dazzled the eyes of the onlookers. How terrifying! This kind of combat strength is enough to kill an ordinary fifth sky of King God Realm expert. Indeed, a King God Realm expert can kill an opponent 2 levels higher than him. How terrifying! Many people were discussing in astonishment. The two of them continued to exchange dozens of blows, but there was still no clear winner. Yuan Jia, is this all you've got? Then you'll be defeated. Suddenly, Chu Chenkong let out a long howl. His body swelled rapidly, turning into a giant that was a few hundred meters tall. His aura was obviously stronger than before. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. This was a powerful secret technique. It was not the ancient god body, but it was similar to the ancient god body. It could increase one's strength by leaps and bounds. Boom. Chu Chenkong used this secret technique. With a thrust of his spear, Yuan Jia's spear lights were shattered. Yuan Jia's body shook violently and he was forced to retreat. Yuan Jia was at a disadvantage. After gaining the upper hand, Chu Chenkong launched a torrential attack. After more than 10 blows, Yuan Jia finally gave in. His body crashed into the light shield at the edge of the fighting ring. He spat out mouthfuls of blood and his aura weakened. Defeated. Yuan Jia, one of the 10 heroes of the holy capital, was defeated by Chu Chenkong. Yuan Jia, your strength is only so. I won't kill you today. Get lost. Chu Chenkong waved his hand in a domineering manner. Yuan Jia's face turned ugly. At this moment, the array of the fighting ring opened. Yuan Jia rose into the air and left the place. Yuan Jia was defeated. What a surprise! Although Yuan Jia is ranked at the bottom of the 10 heroes, he was defeated by Chu Chenkong. Chu Chenkong is really terrifying. No wonder he's the strongest supreme talent in the history of the War God clan. With his strength, he should be able to make it to the top 3. It's possible. I just don't know how strong the other supreme talents are. I have a feeling that this battle will be very exciting. Many people were discussing. Among the crowd, some powerful supreme talents, such as Xian Shengxian and the other 10 heroes, had a solemn look in their eyes. Only Di Jianyi looked calm. Let's go, Lu Ming said and left with Qiu Autumn Moon and Lan Ling. After watching the battle between Yuan Jia and Chu Chenkong, Lu Ming had a rough idea of his strength. After returning to their residence, the 3 of them continued to cultivate while waiting for the opening of the Great Void Imperial Academy. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. The day of the opening of the Great Void Imperial Academy had finally arrived. Rumble. On this day, a continent appeared in the sky out of thin air. Yes, a platform appeared in the sky. It was so big that it really looked like a continent. Countless people rose into the sky and flew toward the continent. That was because the location of the opening of the Great Void Imperial Academy was on this continent. Lu Ming, Qiu Autumn Moon, and Lan Ling flew to the continent. The continent was very flat and boundless. It was so huge that it could accommodate billions of living beings at the same time. There were many armored soldiers guarding the 4 corners of the continent. They were the experts of the Imperial Guards. They blocked everyone outside. There was a large empty space in the middle. The supreme talents who are participating in the opening of the Great Void Imperial Academy can enter the center. The spectators can stay outside. Those who violate the rules will be punished by military law. In the sky, a burly man in armor spoke. His voice spread throughout the area and made many people's hearts beat faster. He was a general of the Imperial Guards. His strength was extremely terrifying. No one dared to violate the rules because that would be courting death. Immediately, the young supreme talents flew out from the crowd and toward the center area. Look, that's Qian Shengxian. And Di Jianyi. And Chu Chenkong. Ah, Chu Chenkong, I love you. Many infatuated girls shouted excitedly when they saw Chu Chenkong. After the last battle, Chu Chenkong's popularity had skyrocketed. Many people thought that Chu Chenkong would definitely enter the top 10, or even the top 3. Chapter 3207. And Su Wuya Yijifan. More and more people screamed. The screams at the scene grew louder and louder. Many girls were screaming with tears and snot running down their faces. Su Wuya and Yi Jifan were the most outstanding of the 10 heroes of the holy capital. They were considered to be in the top 3. These geniuses were all dragons among men. They were talented and handsome. Most importantly, they had strong backgrounds. Every one of them had countless supporters and fans. He's really popular. Lu Ming was speechless. After this battle, young master will definitely be more popular and have more supporters, Qiuyu said with a smile. I don't need that many supporters. I only need you as my supporter, Lu Ming said to Qiuyu. Humph. This scene caused Lan Ling to feel extremely displeased. She let out a cold snort, took a step forward and flew out. Lu Ming and Qiuyu smiled at each other and flew out as well. One by one, the young elites flew to the center of the platform. There were so many of them that no one knew how many there were. This is too many. Lu Ming was speechless. Lu Ming didn't know how many people there were, but he estimated that there were at least 10 million. Yes, 10 million. The number of participants was truly terrifying. It's normal for there to be so many people. The Taishu Royal Sacred Institute is the sacred place for all the young cultivators of the Taishu dynasty. The elites of the 27 Heavenly Lord mansions, the General's mansions, and the Marquis mansions will all participate. Plus, countless elites of the Taishu dynasty will gather. Lan Ling said. Lu Ming nodded. The Taishu dynasty's territory was too vast. Although there were many people, some of them were still eye-catching in the sea of people. For example, Qian Shengxian of the 10 talents of the Saint Capital and the strongest elite from the Wushuang mansion, Shuihen. There were also Di Jiani and Chu Qingkong. These people stood in the crowd while the others stayed far away from them, not daring to approach them. As for Lu Ming, he was submerged in the vast sea of people and was completely inconspicuous. After half an hour, no more young geniuses flew out. Countless geniuses sized each other up. Next, they would all be competitors. Of course, most of the gazes were still on the few people who attracted the most attention. The Sage Emperor has arrived. Suddenly, a voice sounded from the sky and entered everyone's ears. The scene suddenly quieted down. It became silent. Roar, roar, roar. In the distance, dragon roars could be heard. Then everyone saw 9 divine dragons pulling a war chariot over. Each of the divine dragons was extremely huge. They were tens of thousands of feet long, and their auras were extremely dense. 6-clawed divine dragons, and they are all 6-clawed divine dragons that have reached the Divine Lord realm. Sensing the 9 divine dragons pulling the carriage, Lu Ming's pupils contracted. These 9 divine dragons all had 6 claws on their abdomens. Each one's aura was unfathomably deep. They were shockingly all Divine Lord realm existences. On the chariot behind the 9 divine dragons sat an emperor. This was the ruler of the Taishu dynasty, the current Sage Emperor. The Sage Emperor looked to be in his 60s, and his hair was white. Given the cultivation of the Sage Emperor, if he looked to be in his 60s, his actual age was probably shockingly old. Just by sitting there casually, the Sage Emperor exuded endless majesty. Behind the Sage Emperor were the ministers of the Taishu Sacred Emperor. They were all the higher-ups of the Taishu dynasty, such as the state teacher, the current crown prince, the various princes. Of course, Lu Ming didn't know any of them. Greetings, Sage Emperor. Countless people bowed to the Sage Emperor. Rise. The Sage Emperor waved his hand and said, The time has come. Let's begin. The rules are the same as before. Those who enter the top 10 can establish their own families. Those who enter the top 3 can make a request of me. The Sage Emperor's words were very concise. Then a middle-aged man in his 50s stepped out. It's the state teacher. Many youths whispered, State teacher. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. This person was the state teacher, the teacher of the current crown prince and a powerful figure in the Taishu dynasty. Because of Wu Fan, Lu Ming would most likely be on the opposite side of this person. Moreover, the biggest suspect in Jing Yu's death was the crown prince. If that was really the case, Lu Ming and this person would be enemies in the future. Therefore, Lu Ming couldn't help but observe for a while. The state teacher looked very majestic, but there was no pressure on him at all. He stood there like an ordinary person. Lu Ming knew that his cultivation was too far away from the state teacher, which was why he felt that way. I will be the host of this meeting. This meeting of the Sacred Academy will be divided into 4 rounds. Stepping on the Milky Way, comprehending Xianhuang, striking the bell and stabilizing the divine throne. The state teacher's voice resounded throughout the hall. Stepping on the Milky Way, comprehending Xianhuang, striking the bell and stabilizing the divine throne. Many people murmured and pondered about the meaning of these 4 sentences. At this moment, the state teacher took a step forward and went to the depths of the sky. He waved his hand and his palm emitted a bright light. Then, a Milky Way appeared out of thin air. The Milky Way ran through the starry sky. It was vast and there seemed to be stars in it. The first round is to cross the Milky Way. As long as you can cross the Milky Way successfully, you will pass. Let's begin, the state teacher announced. So it's that simple. Let's go. Let's go. Suddenly many figures rushed into the sky. Tens of millions of different creatures rose into the sky. The scene was extremely spectacular. In a flash, many people came to the other side of the Milky Way, and then rushed into it. When these people rushed into the Milky Way, their bodies trembled violently. Some of them screamed and couldn't stabilize their bodies. They flew downstream. It seemed that there was a powerful force in the core of the planet that was constantly attacking those who entered the Milky Way. Fortunately, those people were only swept away and were not seriously injured. However, some people managed to block it and rushed forward quickly to the other side of the Milky Way. Go, go, go. More young people rushed into the Milky Way. Among them, some people were particularly eye-catching. For example, the 10 heroes of the holy capital, Di Jiani, Chu Qingkong, Qian Shengxian, and the others turned into streaks of light and flew forward at an astonishing speed. It seemed that the power of the Milky Way didn't affect them at all. Soon they flew across half of the Milky Way. Lu Ming, Autumn Moon, and Lan Ling were also about to fly toward the Milky Way. However, Lu Ming felt a few cold murderous intents sweeping toward him from time to time. Lu Ming looked around and noticed some people. A few young men in golden robes glanced at Lu Ming coldly. Without thinking, Lu Ming knew that they were from the Jin family. There were also a few young men in black robes. They looked at Lu Ming unkindly from time to time. Judging by their auras, they should be from the abysmal Heavenly King residence. Humph, let him go now. I'll deal with him later. Let's cross the Milky Way first. A tall young man from the Jin family said coldly. This person was one of the 4 heroes of the Jin family. He was an extremely powerful existence. Chapter 3208. The 4 most outstanding geniuses of the younger generation of the Jin clan were called the 4 heroes of the Jin clan. This title was imitated by the 10 heroes of the holy capital. However, the tragedy was that the other 3 heroes of the 4 heroes of the Jin clan had all died at the hands of Lu Ming. Now, only one of the 4 heroes of the Jin clan was left. It was the one in front of them, Jin Dun. Jin Dun was the strongest of the 4 heroes of the Jin clan. Previously, he had been training outside with the goal of shocking everyone when the Great Void Imperial Family's Sacred Academy opened. When he heard about the atrocities that Lu Ming had committed against the Jin clan, he was furious and swore to kill Lu Ming to avenge the other 3 heroes of the Jin clan. However, now was not the time for revenge. There would be plenty of opportunities in the future. After casting a few cold glances at Lu Ming, the few members of the Jin family flew toward the galaxy. Lu Ming smiled faintly. With his current cultivation, he could not be bothered with the small fries of the Jin clan. Their figures moved, and they also charged toward the galaxy. Once Lu Ming entered the galaxy, he felt a strong force hitting him. It was from the upper reaches of the galaxy. It was like a raging wave. The force was shocking. However, this force was nothing to Lu Ming now. He covered his body with divine power, and isolated himself from the outside force. He quickly flew forward. On the autumn moon, Lan Ling easily blocked this force and flew forward. Before they were halfway there, the 10 heroes of the holy capital, Xian of 1,000 Shengxian, Emperor Jiani, and the rest had already flown to the other side and successfully crossed the galaxy. However, Lu Ming was not in a hurry. This was only the first stage. Only by walking to the end could he have the last laugh. Give me a hand. I don't want to be eliminated. No, I can't fail in the first stage. Some of the youths roared and charged forward with all their might. However, they couldn't resist the power at all, and were swept down into the lower reaches of the galaxy. Some people came out from the lower reaches of the galaxy and ran back. However, the result was the same. They were swept away for the second time. Only a small number of people were able to resist that power and keep moving forward. Lu Ming, Mid-Autumn Moon, and Lan Ling were very relaxed. Moments later, they had successfully crossed the Milky Way. Their speed was neither slow nor fast. Many people were still struggling. Some people were fast while others were slow. They waited quietly. Some of the slowest people took 3 days to cross the Milky Way. At this point, the first round had ended. Lu Ming glanced over and was secretly speechless. In this round, at least 90% of the people were eliminated. There were originally tens of millions of them, but at least 9 million were eliminated in an instant, leaving only a little over 1 million. Lu Ming finally understood why they had to use this method. There were simply too many geniuses who had signed up for this competition. If they were to use a one-on-one competition, who knew how long it would take? Using this method, those with weak cultivation and insufficient strength could be eliminated very quickly. Those who didn't pass the Star River will be eliminated. Leave the central area immediately and go outside. The Imperial Preceptor gave the order. Those who were eliminated sighed, but they didn't dare to disobey the Imperial Preceptor's order. They could only fly outside. They were originally participants, but now they were just bystanders. When all the eliminated people left the central area, the Imperial Preceptor waved his hand, and the Milky Way in the sky disappeared. Then, a mirror appeared in the Imperial Preceptor's hand. The mirror flew out and rapidly expanded. Soon, it turned into a huge mirror and floated in the air. One could see that there were countless small plates on the mirror. In the small plates, there was a round bead the size of an egg. The round beads in these small plates are the seed of black yellow. This round is called Enlightenment of Black Yellow. As the name suggests, it's to comprehend the black yellow. Go up and grab the seed of black yellow. You'll enter a mysterious space. Use your imagination to your heart's content and comprehend whatever you can. Finally, as long as you can make the seed of black yellow germinate, you'll pass. Of course, you only have half a month, the Imperial Preceptor announced. Then he waved his hand and signaled the start of the competition. Everyone flew up the mirror. There were countless small plates on it. Lu Ming and the others randomly chose a small plate. Lu Ming sat cross-legged beside a small plate and reached out to grab the seed of black yellow. Suddenly, Lu Ming's vision turned black. In the next moment, Lu Ming found himself in a sealed space. The space was not big. It was less than 10 meters in length, width, and height. In the space, there were wisps of chi of black yellow floating around. Looks like this stage tests one's perception and imagination. Lu Ming carefully looked at the chi of black yellow in front of him and began to comprehend. Time passed day by day. Lu Ming was still trying to comprehend. Outside, countless people's eyes were fixed on the mirrors and the geniuses. They saw that all the elites were holding the seed of black yellow and were motionless. We have to pass this round. We have to pass this round. This time, someone from the general's residence must enter the Great Void Imperial Sacred Academy. This time, we have to pass. Many onlookers watched nervously. There were countless people who came from all over the place. The various Heavenly Kings' residences, the Marquis residences, the General's residences, and many other forces came to watch. For example, the 9 Extinction Heavenly Kings' residence, the 9 Extinction Heavenly King, and the patriarchs of the various major families came. The patriarchs of the various major families also stared at the elites of the various major families. They were extremely nervous. This was because they knew that if one wanted to enter the Great Void Imperial Sacred Academy, there was no need to go through the 4th round. Only by passing the 2nd round would one be able to enter the Great Void Imperial Sacred Academy. Therefore, this round was the most crucial. Time passed quickly. Soon 10 days had passed. Crack. Suddenly, the sound of glass cracking could be heard. The seed of black yellow in the hands of one of the young men cracked. Then, a tender sprout appeared. As time passed, the tender sprout slowly grew. He did it. My disciple did it. Someone laughed. That young man had successfully germinated the seed of black yellow, which meant that he had passed this round. This young man seemed to have broken the silence. Next, cracking sounds could be heard continuously. More people's seed of black yellow cracked, revealing a tender sprout. Of course, more people did not germinate the seed of black yellow. The strangest thing was that the 10 heroes of the holy capital, Dijiani, Chu Chengkong, Qian Shengxian, and the others did not germinate the seed of black yellow. What's going on? Those who are obviously weaker have germinated the seed of black yellow. Why didn't the 10 heroes of the holy capital germinate the seed of black yellow? I don't know. Every time the Imperial Sacred Academy opens, the content of the test is different. I don't know what's going on either. Maybe it's because they're well prepared. Otherwise, it's impossible that no one succeeded. Many people were discussing. As time passed, more and more people succeeded. However, Lu Ming, Autumn Moon, and Lan Ling did not succeed. Chapter 3209. 20 days had passed. At this time, those who succeeded had the mysterious yellow seed's tender shoot continuously growing. The tallest one had the mysterious yellow seed grow to a full meter long. Good preparation is the key to success. Good preparation is the key to success. Someone exclaimed. They realized that the later they germinated, the more talented they were, and the longer their buds grew. Of course, they had to germinate before the 30th day. Otherwise, they would have failed after the 30th day. From the 20th day onwards, those who germinated the black-yellow seed were the true elites, and the buds grew longer and longer. The tallest one was 5 meters long, like a small tree. On the 26th day, the black-yellow seed in Lan Ling's hand finally cracked. A bud grew out and started to grow crazily. Soon it grew to about 6 meters. It was verdant and looked like a real tree. Lu Ming and Autumn Moon's black-yellow seed did not germinate. Time passed quickly, and it was the 30th day. It was the last day. Almost everyone's eyes were focused on the 10 heroes of the holy capital, Dijiani, and the others. Crack. Crack. Almost at the same time, the black-yellow seeds in the hands of the 10 heroes of the holy capital, Dijiani, Chu Chengkong, and the others cracked. Of course, that included Lu Ming and Autumn Moon. After their black-yellow seeds cracked, the buds started to grow crazily. 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters, 4 meters. Soon, it exceeded the previous maximum of 6 meters and continued to grow. Look, Yuanjia's buds have stopped growing. They've stopped at 6. 5 meters, someone exclaimed. Sure enough, they saw that one of the holy capital's 10 prodigies, Yuanjia's sprout had stopped growing. It was only 5 meters tall. As for the others, they were still growing. Of course, after that, there were people whose buds stopped growing. Look, Dijiani's black-yellow seed is growing so fast. Chu Chengkong and Su Wuya are also very fast. Many people cried out in shock because they realized that these people's Xianhuang sprouts were growing too quickly. They had already surpassed 9 meters, and were charging towards a height of 10 meters. Look, those two. Their mysterious yellow tender sprouts are so ferocious. Abnormal, abnormal. Suddenly, someone cried out in alarm, full of shock. Not only them, but the others who saw this scene were also very shocked. These two people were, of course, Lu Ming and Autumn Moon. The mysterious yellow tender buds in their hands also grew at a shocking speed. Its speed was no slower than Dijiani, Chu Chengkong, and the others. Nest, who are these people? This is too awesome. I've never seen it before. This stage tests one's perception and imagination. Such speed, perception, and imagination are astonishing. Every time the Great Void Imperial Family's Sacred Academy's examination, a dark horse like this would appear. Many people were discussing in shock. It's them. In the crowd, the 9 Absolutes' Heavenly King revealed a look of joy. The Wu family's patriarch and experts, who were on good terms with Lu Ming, also looked happy. Lu Ming is amazing. Wu Zifeng and Yu Linglong also came to watch, their faces full of admiration. As for the Jin family, Qin family, and Winged family, they were gnashing their teeth. This kid. The 9 Sabers' Heavenly King also looked at Lu Ming, his eyes emitting a cold, murderous intent. Gradually, many of the mysterious yellow tender buds of the 10 heroes of the holy capital stopped growing. The 1,000 Shengxian also stopped growing, and the mysterious yellow tender buds stopped growing at 10 meters. Then Chu Chengkong and Autumn Moon's mysterious yellow tender buds stopped growing at almost the same time. Their mysterious yellow tender buds stopped at 12 meters. Who is this little girl? What terrifying talent! She can actually tie with Chu Chengkong. Chu Chengkong is known as the strongest supreme talent in the history of the war god family. There is no doubt about his talent. This little girl also has such talent. Terrifying. The most terrifying ones are that kid and Di Jiani. The scene was noisy, and many people could not remain calm. Now only Lu Ming, Di Jiani, and Su Wuya were still growing their mysterious yellow tender buds. Su Wuya was known as the leader of the 10 heroes of the holy capital. His combat strength was unparalleled, and no one could beat him. Now, not to mention combat strength, there were 2 people who could match Su Wuya in terms of comprehension and imagination. After a while, Su Wuya's mysterious yellow tender buds grew slower and slower, and finally stopped at 13 meters. Only Lu Ming and Di Jiani's mysterious yellow tender buds were still growing. In the end, both of their mysterious yellow tender buds stopped at 15 meters. 15 meters was 2 meters taller than the cliff of nothingness, which was 13 meters tall. This was shocking. Di Jiani, a peerless swordsman from the small thousand world, has such talent. Terrifying. This kind of person can be said to be the main character of the small thousand world. However, there are many of them. There are only a few who can rise after entering the great thousand world. The key is who is the other person. He also has such talent. It's really shocking. Everyone sighed. I know. He is Lu Ming from the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Mansion. Suddenly there was a voice. Obviously it was from the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Mansion. He is a supreme talent from the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Mansion. Brother 9 Extinction, congratulations. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King Mansion has such a supreme talent. Suddenly, there were heavenly kings from other heavenly king mansions who looked at the 9 Extinction Heavenly King and congratulated him. Humph, he only has better comprehension and imagination. In the end, it still depends on his combat power. If his combat power is not enough, everything is in vain. The 9 Sabers Heavenly King snorted coldly, and was very unhappy. Who is the divine king genius who defeated the 9 Sabers Heavenly King Mansion as a heavenly god? The 9 Extinction Heavenly King Mansion replied faintly. The 9 Sabers Heavenly King Mansion suddenly stopped talking. Everyone was discussing as they waited. 30 days had not passed. Lu Ming and the others had not woken up and did not know their results. In addition, there were many people whose mysterious yellow tender buds had not sprouted. The forces that those people belonged to were sighing. Those who had not sprouted were probably doomed to be eliminated. They did not think that those people were well prepared. Even Di Jiani and the others' mysterious yellow tender buds had sprouted. How could those people be more well prepared than Di Jiani and the others? Those people had not sprouted because they could not let the mysterious yellow tender buds germinate. Very soon, 30 days had passed. All right, 1 month has passed. This round is over. The Grand Master said. He then waved and a gust of energy spread out. Suddenly, Lu Ming and the others left the space and woke up. After they woke up, they looked at their mysterious yellow tender buds. Mine sprouted. Ha ha ha, mine sprouted. Mine sprouted too. Me too. Those who saw their mysterious yellow tender buds were elated. Mine did not germinate. How could this be? Damn it, D*MN. Many people who did not germinate roared and lamented. They had all kinds of emotions. Chapter 32:10. The 10 heroes of the holy capital, Di Jiani, Chu Chengkong, and the rest looked calm. They glanced at their own buds and then looked at the others. So tall. When their gazes swept past Di Jiani and Lu Ming's fantasy sprout, their pupils could not help but widen, revealing a shocked expression. Their buds were 15 meters tall and stood out from the crowd. It was hard for them not to attract attention. That's terrifying. 15 meters tall. It has surpassed Su Wuya. Di Jiani is still acceptable. Who is that person? How can he compete with Su Wuya? I don't know. Many supreme talents looked at Lu Ming curiously. That included the 10 heroes of the holy capital, Di Jiani, Qian Shengxian, and the rest. Di Jiani was especially surprised to see someone who could compete with him. His eyes lit up and he seemed to be surprised. Humph, it's just a high level of comprehension and imagination. A person's ultimate achievement is not determined by these two factors. It depends on his cultivation and combat strength. Chu Chenkong snorted. He was very unhappy. This time he was full of ambition. He was originally prepared to suppress all the outstanding heroes. In his opinion, in the Taishu dynasty, Su Wuya was the only one who could make him feel pressured. The others were not worth mentioning. However, this time in the second round he met several people who had surpassed him. This made him extremely irritable and murderous. Especially when he looked at Lu Ming, his murderous intent intensified. Lu Ming glanced at him calmly. Alright, this round is over. Those who did not make the black-yellow seed germinate have failed. Leave the central area. The Grand Master said. Those who failed could only leave helplessly. There were originally over 1 million people, but now there were only about 100,000 left. Let me tell you a piece of news. If you pass this round, you can join the Taishu Imperial Family Sacred Academy. The Grand Master continued. This piece of news immediately ignited the crowd. The geniuses who passed cheered excitedly. As for those who failed, their faces were ashen. Especially those who failed in the second round, they were extremely vexed. They were just one step away from entering the Taishu Imperial Family Sacred Academy. Although you can enter the Great Void Imperial Academy, there is still a third and fourth round. The Imperial Preceptor continued. Of course, if you want to withdraw from the third or fourth round, you can still join the Great Void Imperial Academy. Now, does anyone want to withdraw? No one moved by themselves. What was the purpose of joining the Great Void Imperial Academy? One of the reasons was that there was a good cultivation environment in the Taishu Imperial Academy. Another reason was that he could enter various departments and be entrusted with important tasks. He would rise step by step and eventually become a pillar of the Taishu dynasty. He would become a great figure in the Taishu dynasty. The next 2 rounds would be the time for them to perform. If they performed well, they would not only be favored by the Sage Emperor, but also by the marshals and generals of the other armies. In the future, they would have a much better chance of developing themselves in these armies. If he backed out now, he would definitely be looked down upon by others. Therefore, no one backed out. Since no one is quitting, let's proceed to the third round. The State Preceptor waved his hand, and the mirror and the black-yellow seed disappeared. Following that, a huge bronze bell flew out from his hand. As soon as the bell flew out, it quickly grew in size and eventually filled the entire sky. Then stone platforms appeared around the bell and floated in the air. There were at least 100,000 stone platforms. Each of you choose a stone platform and get on it. The State Preceptor said. Then, the crowd randomly chose a stone platform and flew onto it. Lu Ming, Autumn Moon, and Lan Ling's stone platforms were next to each other. Alright, I will now announce the rules of the third round. The rules of this round are called the Sky Striking Bell. It's very simple. You will attack the bell. In the end, the remaining 10,000 people on the stone platforms will enter the next round. The State Preceptor announced. Attack the bell, and the remaining 10,000 people on the stone platforms will enter the next round? What kind of rule is that? Many people were puzzled. Let's begin. You will start. The State Preceptor pointed at a young man. The young man's expression changed. Then, he looked at the bell in front of him with a solemn expression. A powerful aura emanated from his body. Boom. The young man threw a punch. A huge fist print blasted toward the bell in front of him. However, when the fist print hit the bell, it did not cause any ripples or sound. It was like a stone sinking into the sea. What's going on? Many people were puzzled. There was no movement. How could anyone be eliminated? Suddenly, someone felt that the bell seemed to vibrate slightly. Then, a burst of energy burst out and rushed toward the young man just now. The young man's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly blocked, but when the energy hit him, his body trembled violently. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body was sent flying out of the stone platform. Eliminated. Once he left the stone platform, he would be eliminated. Let me tell you, if you don't ring the bell, you will be eliminated by the force of the bell. The state preceptor explained. Everyone came to a realization. It turned out that they had to ring the bell. Let me try. A young man spoke. A battle axe appeared in his hand. He channeled his divine power and exerted his full strength. The battle axe slashed toward the bell. A huge battle axe light slashed toward the bell. Clang. This time, the battle axe light hit the bell and made a loud sound. The bell vibrated and emitted a bright light. However, in the next moment, everyone's expression changed. That was because the battle axe light was repelled by the bell. However, the direction of the battle axe light changed. It did not fly toward the young man just now. Instead, it flew toward another young man. The young man's expression changed drastically. He roared and unleashed his divine power. He punched out with both palms. A huge palm print flew out, trying to block the battle axe light. The battle axe light and the palm print collided, making a loud sound. However, it was obvious that the battle axe light was stronger. After a few breaths, it broke through the palm print. When the palm print collapsed, the young man who blocked it with his palms suffered a huge impact. His body could not help but be sent flying out of the stone platform's range. As soon as he flew out of the stone platform's range, his face turned pale. Flying out of the stone platform was equivalent to being eliminated. Eliminated. The state preceptor waved his hand. The young man sighed and left the place. Now you can see it. If you don't have enough strength to attack the bell won't ring. Instead, you will be sent flying out of the stone platform by the bell's force. If you have enough strength to ring the bell, the force of your attack will be repelled by the bell. Of course, it will be repelled toward the others. If you can't withstand it and are sent flying, you will be eliminated. The state preceptor explained a few more words. Everyone came to a realization. So that was the rule. If you can't ring the bell, you will be eliminated. If you can ring the bell, you will have to guard against the attacks of others. No one knew who the rebound of the bell would hit. Chapter 32:11. When the crowd looked at the 10 heroes of the holy capital, Di Jianyi, Xian Shengxian, and Chu Chengkong, their expressions became more serious. If they were unlucky, their attacks would be reflected back to them. Who could block it? We can only rely on luck. Some people sighed helplessly. They only hoped that the strongest supreme talents would not use their full strength when attacking the bell. Otherwise, not many people could block it. This round will depend on strength and luck. Let's continue. The Grand Master said. Next, more people attacked. A young man attacked with all his might. However, before the bell rang, he was sent flying by the rebound force of the bell. They continued to the next one. One by one they attacked. However, less than half of them could make the bell ring. Those who could make the bell ring would have their attacks reflected back to their opponents. Some people would be sent flying off the fighting ring. However, those who were stronger could block the attack. Clang. Another young man rang the bell. The bell buzzed and deflected his attack. A sword light was sent flying towards one of the 10 prodigies of the holy capital. This genius of the 10 prodigies of the holy capital was called Han Xiao. His strength was also shocking. He extended a hand and slapped out. The sword chi flying towards him changed direction and flew towards another young man. Not only did he block it, but he also changed the direction of the attack to form a second attack. However, the attack did not increase. The young man who was attacked was shocked. He tried to block it, but he could not block it and was sent flying. Many people's eyes lit up when they saw this. It seemed that this round of attacks was not only random, but could also be controlled. As long as one was strong enough, they could change the direction of the attack and attack the enemy they wanted to attack. Suddenly, some of the supreme talents who had grudges against each other started to size each other up. Cold light flashed in their eyes. Lu Ming saw that Jin Dun, one of the 4 heroes of the Jin clan, and the supreme talent of the abysmal Heavenly King Mansion were looking at Lu Ming with evil intentions. From then on, all the supreme talents on the stone platform became more alert and focused. Next, the people continued to attack. Soon, a few hundred people were eliminated. Whoosh! Finally, an attack flew towards Jin Dun, the genius of the Jin clan. Ah! Jin Dun shouted. His body emitted a golden light, and his hands turned pure gold. He displayed the hand of void severing, and continuously slapped forward. With a series of explosions, the attack that was flying towards him was not only blocked by him, but also changed direction and flew towards Lu Ming. This Jin Dun was obviously targeting Lu Ming, wanting to send Lu Ming flying. Anyway, Jin Dun's competence surprised Lu Ming. He had the cultivation base of the third sky of King God realm. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to change the direction of the other's attacks. His cultivation was much stronger than the other geniuses of the Jin clan. Whoosh! This attack flew towards Lu Ming in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming threw a punch, and a few nine-clawed divine dragons condensed continuously. They flew forward and collided with the attacks that were directed at him. However, he managed to block them. He had some strength. Many people were surprised, but they weren't too surprised. After all, Lu Ming had won first place in the second round, and was ranked with Emperor Jian. It wasn't surprising that he had such strength. Let me. At this moment, a young man spoke. Yuan Jie is going to attack. Someone exclaimed. Many people became nervous. Yuan Jie was one of the 10 greats of the holy capital. How strong was he? If his attack was reflected, it would be terrifying. How many people could withstand it? Many people started to pray that Yuan Jie's attack wouldn't be reflected on them. At this moment, Yuan Jie attacked. However, he didn't use his full strength. He just casually pointed his finger, and a spear light shot out from his finger towards the bell. Dong! As expected, the bell rang, emitting a dazzling light. Then, the spear light was reflected back towards a young man. That young man became nervous. He exhaled, and all the divine power in his body burst out. His strength was at its peak. Second sky of King God realm, awakened divine power. Many people were surprised. This young man was also very strong. He had awakened divine power, and his cultivation base had reached the second sky of King God realm. Among all the sky prides, he could be ranked in the upper middle. Wave parting palm. The young man shouted, and both of his palms struck out. Waves of palm energy formed a force that could topple mountains and overturn seas. Boom, 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 boom. The palm energy collided with the spear light, and there were continuous explosions. In the end, the spear light was blocked. The young man took a few steps back, but he didn't get out of the stone platform. Phew! The young man let out a long breath and relaxed. The others also felt lucky for the young man. It was obvious that Yuan Jie had only casually struck out. Otherwise, the young man wouldn't have been able to block it. The attacks continued. Soon it was Qian Shingshuan's turn. Everyone became nervous again. In their hearts, Qian Shingshuan was a peerless genius on par with the 10 greats of the holy capital. However, Qian Shingshuan didn't intend to use his full strength. They couldn't control who their attacks were aimed at, so there was no point in using his full strength. What if his attacks were aimed at one of their own? Therefore, Qian Shingshuan only casually struck out. Her attack was reflected, and it was aimed at a young man. That young man wasn't as strong as the one who had been attacked by Yuan Jie. Even though he had used all his strength, he couldn't block it and was thrown out of the stone platform. Next, every time it was the 10 greats of the holy capital's turn to attack, everyone became nervous. However, they were just casually attacking, so their attacks weren't particularly strong. Some people managed to block the attacks, while others didn't. As time went by, the number of people around the bell decreased. At first, it was 100,000, then 90,000, then 80,000. Clang! The bell rang again. This time it was an attack from a genius in the third King God realm. Although he wasn't as strong as the 10 greats of the holy capital and Chu Chengkong, he was still very powerful. The attack flew directly toward Chu Chengkong. The corners of Chu Chengkong's mouth curled into a sneer. He condensed a spear with his divine power and swung it. The attack was sent flying in another direction. That direction was where Lu Ming was. With a terrifying whistling sound, the attack flew towards Lu Ming. Many people fixed their gazes on Lu Ming. This was an attack from a genius in the third king god realm. Although he hadn't used his full strength, could Lu Ming block it? This guy. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. Obviously, Chu Chenkong had recognized him after he had killed several geniuses of the Chu family. That was why he had sent the attack towards him. Chapter 32:12. Lu Ming clenched his fists and punched out continuously. Dragon roars resounded in the air. The dragon power was vast and mighty. Numerous nine-clawed divine dragons were formed. A total of 18 nine-clawed divine dragons appeared and rushed towards the attack. After a series of explosions, the attack was finally blocked. He still has some strength. Someone said. His strength is not bad, but he didn't use his full strength to attack the bell. He only used a portion of his strength. It's not enough to prove how strong he is. That's true. Dang. Dang. The bell continued to ring. Following that, there were people who were eliminated and people who succeeded. The number of people continued to decrease, approaching 10,000. Finally, after half a month, out of the original 100,000 people around the bell, 90,000 had been eliminated, leaving only 10,000. Good, this round is over. The imperial teacher waved his hand and the bell quickly shrunk and was put away by him. This round was over. Next, the 10,000 of you will enter the fourth round, which is also the last round. In this round, you will decide the top 10 and the top 3. The imperial teacher's voice spread across the field. Some people's eyes lit up. Top 10, top 3. This was the goal of many people, especially the top 10 prodigies of the holy capital. Let me first explain the rules of the fourth round. It's very simple. Take a look. The imperial teacher said and waved his hand again. A round ball flew out and quickly expanded in the air. This time, the imperial teacher was in charge. Therefore, he had already prepared all the treasures needed for the fourth round. Inside this round ball is a world. It was set up by an array master. It's vast and the territory is very large. In the fourth round, the 10,000 of you will enter this world together. The imperial teacher explained. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that they will enter this world together and have a chaotic battle to determine the winner? The imperial teacher seemed to have seen through everyone's thoughts and said, the rules are not as simple as you think. After entering this world, you will need to absorb battle chi. Battle chi? Many people were confused. That's right. Take a look. The imperial preceptor moved his finger, and a figure appeared in the air above the sphere. This figure was wearing a crimson battle suit. The battle armor on this figure is formed by battle chi. The battle armor is divided into 8 colors: red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, purple, and gold. Red is the lowest and gold is the highest. When you first enter this world, everyone will be wearing the same red battle armor. After absorbing more battle chi, the battle armor will evolve and become more advanced. Let me tell you, the battle armor can increase your strength. The higher the level the battle armor, the greater the increase in strength. This will play a crucial role in the competition. The imperial teacher continued. Imperial teacher, how can we absorb battle chi? Someone couldn't help but asked. Many people's eyes lit up when they saw that the armor could increase their combat strength. In other words, if they were weak now, they might not necessarily lose. In the fourth round, if they could obtain a higher level battle armor, wouldn't it mean that they would be able to defeat the stronger ones? This is what I'm going to say next. In this world, there is a type of battle beast. As long as you kill this battle beast, you will be able to absorb battle chi. The higher the level of the battle beast, the more battle chi you will obtain after killing it. Moreover, there is a type of battle tower. As long as you destroy this battle tower, you will be able to obtain a large amount of battle chi. The last one is to kill other participants. After killing them, you will be able to obtain half of their battle chi. Most importantly, in this world, you won't really die if you kill someone from the back. You will only be teleported out, which means you have failed. After hearing the imperial teacher's explanation, everyone finally understood. The fourth round was actually a chaotic battle. It was just a chaotic battle for battle chi. In the beginning, you will have 3 months to accumulate battle chi. After 3 months, In the central region of this world, 20 divine thrones will open. You will have to rush to the central region and fight for the 20 divine thrones. As long as you can get the divine thrones, you will be in the top 20. The final battle will be between these 20 people. At the beginning, according to the amount of battle chi you have obtained, a preliminary ranking will be made, from the 1st to the 20th. After that, the last person, who is the 20th, will start to challenge those who are ranked higher. Each person is only qualified to challenge once. If you win, you can continue to challenge others. If you lose, you will not be able to continue to challenge others. Of course, if you lose, you will still have another chance to challenge others. In the end, the top 10 and top 3 will be determined. Alright, that's all for the 4th round. Take your time to digest it. Some of you have consumed a lot of energy in the 3rd round, so you will have 3 days to prepare. After 3 days, the 4th round will begin. After the imperial teacher finished his announcement, he returned to the sacred emperor's side and did not say anything else. The geniuses pondered carefully to digest the rules. Suddenly, a powerful aura shrouded Lu Ming. Lu Ming raised his head and saw a burly young man walking toward him. His eyes were cold and filled with murderous intent. Chu Chengkong. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Chu Chengkong stood in front of Lu Ming with a ferocious look in his eyes. You must be Lu Ming, the one who killed a few geniuses of my Chu clan. He very well. Your life is mine. You're going to kill me? I'm afraid you're not worthy enough. Lu Ming replied in a calm tone in a domineering manner. The onlookers, as well as the other geniuses, looked at Lu Ming and Chu Chengkong with curiosity in their eyes. It seems like Chu Chengkong and that Lu Ming have a grudge against each other. Chu Chengkong is from the Nine Sabers Heavenly Emperor Palace, while this Lu Ming is from the Nine Extinction Heavenly Emperor Palace. These two Heavenly Emperor Palaces are like fire and water. It's normal for them to have a grudge against each other. Speaking of which, the results of the Nine Sabers Heavenly Emperor Palace and the Nine Sabers Heavenly Emperor Palace are quite impressive. They have produced quite a few outstanding geniuses. Indeed, the crowd discussed, but most of them were looking forward to it. The battle between geniuses had always been fierce and tragic. Naturally, the crowd was looking forward to it. You're talking big. Don't think that you're so full of yourself just because you showed some talent in the 2nd round. In my eyes, your talent is nothing. Moreover, the talent you showed in the 2nd round was not all about talent. It was just a kind of comprehension. Talent represents a lot. Chu Chengkong said coldly. Although Lu Ming had come first in the 2nd round, he did not think that his talent was inferior to Lu Ming's. Talent was not only about comprehension, but also about physique, bloodline, and so on. He was the descendant of the divine god of battle, and had unparalleled talent. He was confident about that. Are you trying to comfort yourself? Lu Ming said calmly. He was implying that Chu Chengkong was deceiving himself and comforting himself. Chapter 32:13. What's the use of your sharp tongue? Although I can't really kill you in the 4th round, don't let me see you. Otherwise, I'll make sure you die miserably. Chu Chengkong said coldly. Lu Ming had killed Chu Baxing and Chu Batian. He had to kill Lu Ming. Looks like this kid has offended Brother Chu. At this moment, a cold laugh sounded. Another group of people walked towards Lu Ming. It's Wu Fan and Lu Feng. Someone said seriously. Lu Ming's eyes flashed coldly as he looked over. Lu Ming had seen one of them before. It was Lu Feng. Beside Lu Feng was a young man in luxurious clothes. This young man had a dignified appearance. Lu Feng was half a step behind him. Needless to say, this young man was the son of the imperial advisor Wu Fan. Thinking that Blue Merchant had been captured by the imperial guards because of Wu Fan, Lu Ming could not help but feel murderous. Wu Fan and Lu Feng, if these two had a chance, Lu Ming would not let them go. Lu Feng, this kid is Lu Ming? Wu Fan said coldly. Yes, that's him. Lu Feng said. Kid, how dare you touch my woman? Very well, I'll make you regret being born. Wu Fan said coldly, full of ferocious murderous intent. Lu Feng heard that Blue Merchant had betrothed Lan Ling to Lu Ming when he was in the Nine Extremes Heavenly King residence. When he came back, he told Wu Fan about it. Wu Fan was naturally furious. That was why he had come to find Lu Ming. Then, he looked at Lan Ling with a burning gaze. Wu Fan, if anything happens to my father, I'll kill you. Lan Ling shouted and stared at Wu Fan angrily. Kill me? Is that so? I'll wait. Wu Fan smiled faintly and looked at Lu Ming again. Kid, you've done something you shouldn't have. Your fate is sealed. Just wait. Then he turned and left. Chu Chenkong sneered and turned to leave. When many people looked at Lu Ming, they were full of pity. Lu Ming had offended Chu Chenkong, Wu Fan and Lan Feng at the same time. Wasn't he doomed? Lu Ming's expression was very calm. He had achieved what he had today by stepping over mountains of corpses and seas of blood. He had reached where he was by stepping over the corpses of other geniuses. If Wu Fan and Chu Chenkong didn't know what was good for them, he would just have a few more Heaven's Pride corpses under his feet. The scene quieted down. There were some people who were exhausted in the third round, and they all consumed divine pills to recover. Lu Ming, Autumn Moon, and Lan Ling were also waiting quietly. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. All right, time's up. Let the fourth round begin. The Imperial Tutor's voice rang out once again. The floating ball emitted a dazzling radiance. Go. Many people moved and rushed into the sphere. Time was tight. They only had 3 months. The earlier they entered, the earlier they could start absorbing battle chi and strengthen the power of their battle suits. That way they could gain some advantages. In an instant, tens of thousands of people rushed into the sphere and disappeared into it. Lu Ming, Autumn Moon, and Lan Ling also blended into the crowd and rushed into the sphere. When everyone rushed into the sphere shone even brighter. Then, images appeared around the sphere. The images were of the geniuses who had just entered the sphere. There were thousands of images, projecting the world in the sphere. Back then, the Nine Sabers Heavenly King had set up a formation to allow people to enter and fight for the divine power source bead. He could also project the images inside, but only one image could be projected. However, there were thousands of images. Almost all of the world in the sphere had been projected. In these images, many geniuses had already started to move. They were hunting a type of battle beast. Everyone's gaze fell on some of the top geniuses in the images. For example, the 10 heroes of the Holy Capital, Chu Chenkong, Emperor Jiani, and the others. These people had also started to hunt battle beasts. According to this rule, if the top geniuses meet in advance, won't some of them die in advance and be eliminated from the competition? Someone raised a question. For example, if someone was unlucky enough to enter the top 10 but met the person with the strongest combat strength in advance, and was eliminated in advance, wouldn't that be a waste? Don't worry, this formation has been set up in advance. When the Holy Capital's 10 heroes, Di Jiani, Chu Chenkong, and Qian Shengxian enter, they will be automatically separated into different areas. They won't meet in the beginning. The Grand Tutor explained. Everyone was enlightened. As soon as Lu Ming entered the sphere, he found himself on a mountain peak in the next moment. There was no trace of Autumn Moon or Lan Ling around. Obviously, after entering this world, they had all been separated. This was also to prevent geniuses from gathering together and teaming up. For example, the Grand Tutor's residence had many geniuses who had entered this round. If these geniuses all gathered around Wu Fan, it would be unfair. Therefore, after entering this place, they were all randomly separated. This battle suit. Then Lu Ming looked at the battle suit on his body. His body was covered with a layer of crimson battle suit. This battle suit had a strange power that acted on Lu Ming's body. When Lu Ming attacked, his strength would be enhanced. However, the enhancement was not much. Lu Ming tried to activate the battle secret art to increase his combat strength by 4 times. He found that the battle suit's enhancement could be stacked with the battle secret art's enhancement. This is the lowest level of crimson battle suit, so it doesn't increase my strength by much. If it reaches a higher level such as blue, purple, or even gold battle suits, it will definitely increase my combat strength by a lot. It might even allow me to defeat someone stronger than me. Lu Ming's eyes lit up as he pondered. Lu Ming could not miss out on such a battle suit. This time there were many experts among the geniuses. The top 10 geniuses of the Holy Capital, Di Jiani, Chu Chengkong, and Qian Shengxian had gathered together, giving Lu Ming a lot of pressure. Lu Ming was confident that he could enter the top 10. However, if he wanted to enter the top 3, he was not completely sure. This kind of battle suit would determine his success or failure. Let's hunt some battle beasts to increase the level of the battle suit. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He then turned into a beam of light and flew in a direction. Soon Lu Ming saw a few battle beasts strolling in a valley. Lu Ming directly charged in. Roar! The battle beasts roared and charged towards Lu Ming, bursting with powerful battle chi. However, their cultivation was only at the half-step Divine King realm. Lu Ming pressed down with his spear, and the battle beasts collapsed and turned into battle chi that rushed towards Lu Ming. They flew into Lu Ming's body and disappeared. Suddenly, Lu Ming felt that the color of the battle suit on his body had deepened a little. However, it was not much. Half-step Divine King battle beasts add too little battle chi. I need to find stronger battle beasts. Lu Ming muttered and continued to soar into the air. Next, Lu Ming began his leveling up journey. Chapter 32:14. After an hour, Lu Ming had killed dozens of battle beasts. However, the color of his battle suit didn't darken much. That was because the battle beasts he had killed along the way were all at the half-step King God realm. Am I at the edge? I haven't encountered any of the others. The battle beasts are all low level. As for the battle tower, I haven't even seen a hair of it. Lu Ming was speechless. He suddenly sped up, dashing forward. He didn't even care about the battle beasts at the half-step King God realm. Not long after, roar! A furious roar was heard. A giant battle beast dashed toward Lu Ming with a powerful aura. A King God realm battle beast. Lu Ming's eyes brightened. A spear light shot out from his finger, flying forward. Puff! The battle beast at the first layer of the King God realm exploded, turning into a flow of battle chi and entering Lu Ming's body. The color of the battle suit on his body suddenly deepened. A King God realm battle beast can provide more battle chi. Lu Ming smiled. From now on, the number of King God realm battle beasts increased. These battle beasts couldn't threaten Lu Ming at all. Lu Ming went on a killing spree. 2 hours later, when Lu Ming had killed 2 more King God realm battle beasts, his battle suit emitted a dazzling light. Its color changed, turning into an orange battle suit. However, the color was light, just a light orange. Lu Ming gave it a try and discovered that the orange combat suit was indeed much more effective in increasing his combat power than the red combat suit. Let's continue. Lu Ming smiled and continued his journey of hunting beasts. However, after the battle suit reached the orange level, it was harder to upgrade it. In the next 2 days, Lu Ming had killed more than 100 first layer of the King God realm battle beasts. However, his battle suit didn't upgrade. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes brightened. A tall tower appeared in front of him. Lu Ming flew over. It's the battle tower. Lu Ming was delighted. According to the imperial tutor, the battle chi provided by the battle tower was much higher than the battle beasts. Destroying a battle tower could provide a lot of battle chi. Lu Ming didn't hesitate. He directly flew over and shot out his spear, sweeping the stage. Boom! The fighting stage shook violently, but it didn't shatter. This battle tower is really tough. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. His spear strike just now had an absolutely astonishing power, but it still hadn't shattered the battle tower. Then Lu Ming fired a few more shots. Although the battle tower shook violently, it still didn't shatter. Suddenly, Lu Ming felt a murderous intent enveloping him. He subconsciously executed the 9 Heavens Garuda technique and left the place in a flash. Clang! A beam of sword light passed through the place where he had been standing and bombarded the battle tower, causing it to shake again. Lu Ming's gaze swept to the side like lightning. A black-robed young man stepped through the air. You're Lu Ming, right? This battle tower is mine. Now get lost. The black-robed young man waved his hand and said. This young man was also wearing an orange battle suit. His cultivation level was the same as Lu Ming's. I seem to be the one who discovered this battle tower first. Lu Ming said indifferently. So what if you discovered it? It's mine now. If you don't want to get lost, your battle chi will also be mine. The black-robed young man's eyes were filled with murderous intent. In the second round, although Lu Ming had displayed great talent, his cultivation level wasn't high. He was only in the first heaven of the king god realm. As for the black-robed young man, he was only in the second heaven of the king god realm, and had awakened his divine origin force factor once. He didn't take Lu Ming seriously at all. Clang! The black-robed young man merged with his sword, and turned into a dazzling beam of sword light, attacking Lu Ming. However, in the next moment, the beam of sword light shattered and the black-robed young man appeared. His eyes were wide open and filled with disbelief. His chest was pierced by a spear. "Get out!" Lu Ming said in a low voice. His spear shook and the black-robed young man's body was torn into pieces. However, at this moment, runes appeared in the void and covered the black-robed young man's corpse. In a flash, it disappeared. In the next moment, the black-robed young man's body appeared in the sphere outside of this world. His face was filled with fear. He couldn't even withstand one attack from Lu Ming and was killed. He got killed so quickly. He must have met some expert. Some people looked at the black-robed young man. More than 10,000 people had entered the battle tower. There were only a few thousand projections in the sky. They couldn't capture everything. Previously, the projection didn't show the scene of Lu Ming killing the black-robed young man. The black-robed young man harumphed coldly. He didn't say anything and flew to the side to watch the battle. In the spherical world, after Lu Ming killed the youth in black, a majestic battle aura flowed into his battle suit. The battle suit on his body shone brightly at once. Although it was still an orange battle suit, it was a deep orange color. The color was a lot richer than before. Killing other people really did give him half of their battle chi. If his battle suit was upgraded to blue or purple, then how much battle chi would he get from killing someone? Lu Ming's heart stirred. Then he thought of a plan. "Looks like I'll have to change my plan," Lu Ming muttered, and then continued to attack the battle tower. After Lu Ming attacked over 100 times, the battle tower finally exploded. It turned into a majestic energy that rushed toward Lu Ming and gathered on his battle suit. Lu Ming's battle suit's color became even richer. It was incomparably resplendent. The change in quantity led to a change in quality. His battlesuit's color finally changed to yellow. It had become a yellow battle armor. Lu Ming smiled. This battle tower's battle chi was truly astonishing. It was a lot more than the battle chi provided by the black-robed young man. Lu Ming tried the enhancement of the yellow armor. He then left the place and continued to hunt for battle beasts. "There's a bunch of them over there." Not long after, Lu Ming found a valley where a bunch of battle beasts had gathered. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He immediately attacked. Roar! Suddenly, a terrifying roar came from the valley. A powerful aura rushed out from the valley, covering the sky and covering the earth. "It's a 7th King God Layer cultivator, run." Lu Ming's expression changed drastically. He turned around and ran. There was a 7th King God Layer battle beast here. With Lu Ming's current strength, he would definitely die if he encountered such a battle beast. Luckily, the battle beast didn't chase after him. Lu Ming smoothly escaped. It seems like the battle beasts in this world aren't easy to kill. There are some terrifying existences here. Lu Ming thought. A 7th King God Layer battle beast was definitely invincible among the geniuses this time. In fact, it was true. In this world, there weren't only 7th King God Layer battle beasts. There were also Peak King God Layer battle beasts. Some people were unlucky enough to encounter such a battle beast, and were sent out of this world. Next, Lu Ming was more careful and continued to hunt for combat beasts. Chapter 32:15. In the blink of an eye, 1.5 months had passed. After 1.5 months of hunting and battling with other geniuses, Lu Ming was now wearing a cyan battlesuit. The cyan battlesuit could increase Lu Ming's combat strength by a lot. Lu Ming's strength had increased by a lot. At this time, the competition was getting more intense. Lu Ming encountered more geniuses. Once they met, they would fight. Boom, boom. Lu Ming was flying when he suddenly heard a loud explosion in the distance. Apparently, there was a battle going on. Lu Ming flew over and saw a huge battle tower standing between the heavens and the earth. What a huge battle tower. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The battle tower in front of him was bigger than any of the battle towers that Lu Ming had encountered. According to Lu Ming's experience, the bigger the battle tower, the more battle chi it would provide. At this moment, several groups of geniuses were fighting for the battle tower. It's him. Lu Ming saw a familiar face at first glance. The last of the 4 heroes of the Jin family, Jin Dun. He was fighting fiercely with the others. Jin Dun's cultivation was at the 3rd king god realm. He had awakened the divine origin force factor once, so he was very strong. However, the other geniuses were not weak either. After dozens of moves, there was no clear winner. They all retreated and distanced themselves from each other. They faced each other. In my opinion, we should attack this battle tower together. Whoever is lucky enough to be the last one to break the tower will be able to obtain the battle chi. Otherwise, if we keep fighting, we won't be able to determine a winner, and will even attract other geniuses. A young man suggested. The others nodded. It was the only way. The battle tower was not that easy to destroy. Only the last one to break the tower would get the battle chi. They could only rely on their luck now. You don't have to discuss it. We want this battle tower. At this moment, a cold voice was heard. 2 black lights flashed and 2 black-robed young men appeared not far away. The 2 black-robed young men emitted wisps of cold aura. Juyo Heavenly King Mansion. Jin Dun's face turned serious. The 2 black-robed young men behind him were from the abysmal Heavenly King Mansion. The people from the 9 Serenities, Heavenly King Mansion, had strange attacking methods. Everyone else was wary of them. You want to monopolize this battle tower? With just the 2 of you, I'm afraid you can't do it. One of the Sky Prides said coldly. Really? One of the geniuses from the abysmal Heavenly King Mansion charged at the young man like a ghost. Tornado kick. The young man shouted as he took several steps forward. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind appeared between heaven and earth, sweeping towards the genius of Jiuyu Heavenly King Mansion. The gale sliced through the air, emitting a terrifying whistling sound. Without even looking, one could tell that this gale had a terrifying destructive power. However, the prodigy of the abysmal Heavenly King Mansion moved quickly. When the wind slashed his body twisted rapidly and the destructive force of the wind was negated. After a few flashes, the 9 Nether Heavenly King Mansion's genius arrived in front of the young man and grabbed him with his ghostly claw. The young man's expression changed, and his leg lashed out like a long whip. Boom. The 2 of them exchanged blows. In the end, the young man's body shook violently and he was forced to retreat. His face turned pale, and he almost vomited blood. The 9 Nether Heavenly King Mansion's genius was at the same realm as him. They were both in the 3rd layer of the King God realm, and had awakened their origin divine force. This meant that their strength was on par with each other. However, the prodigy of the 9 Nether Heavenly King Mansion had the upper hand when they exchanged blows. After gaining the upper hand, the prodigy of the 9 Nether Heavenly King Mansion attacked ferociously. Ghostly shadows appeared, wailing and howling. Ghostly chi filled the sky. The prodigy was no match for the prodigy. After a dozen blows, the prodigy of the 9 Nether Heavenly King Mansion landed a blow on his chest, almost piercing through his heart. The young man coughed out blood and retreated rapidly. Countless people outside also saw this scene. Humph! Someone harumphed coldly. He was the elder of the injured young man. Even more people had grave expressions on their faces. The 9 Nether Heavenly King Mansion's attacks were strange. They could directly affect one's soul. Few people of the same level could be their match. Most of the people from the 9 Nether Heavenly King Mansion were afraid of them. There were also many experts from the 9 Nether Heavenly King Mansion present. They sneered and looked smug. In the spherical world, after the prodigy of the 9 Nether Heavenly King Mansion injured his opponent, he continued to attack his opponent. Obviously, he wanted to kill his opponent completely. Everyone, are you just going to watch the show? After he kills me, he'll kill all of you. We'll take you down one by one. The young man roared. Jin Dun and the others' faces darkened. After looking at each other, they dashed toward the prodigy of the 9 Nether Heavenly King Mansion. The prodigy of the Nine Nether Heavenly King Mansion turned into a cloud of ghostly mist and retreated quickly to meet up with another prodigy of the Nine Nether Heavenly King Mansion. Jean Dunn and the others also gathered together and stared at the prodigy of the Nine Nether Heavenly King Mansion cautiously. The few of them who were fighting a while ago had joined forces now. The prodigy of the Nine Nether Heavenly King Mansion was giving them too much pressure. Both sides were in a standoff and no one made a move. It seems like a stalemate has formed. I don't have that much time to waste, Lu Ming muttered. He had been hiding in the dark to observe. Initially, he wanted to wait until both sides were injured before making a move. That way, he could easily occupy the battle tower. Now it seemed unrealistic. Lu Ming stepped out and walked toward the battle tower. As soon as he walked out, he immediately attracted everyone's attention. Not only the two prodigies of the Nine Nether Heavenly King Mansion, Jean Dunn and the rest, but also many people outside. Although there were exciting battles everywhere, there were still many people who noticed this projection. It's that kid Lu Ming. The people of the Jean family revealed a trace of coldness. Jean Dunn appeared in the projection. The Jean family members had naturally been paying attention to the projection. Lu Ming. The others from the Nine Nether Heavenly King Mansion were also paying attention to the projection. Their faces changed and no one knew what they were thinking. As for Wu Zifeng, Yu Linglong and the others who were close to Lu Ming, they revealed worried looks. Jean Dunn of the four prodigies of the Jean family was much stronger than the other three prodigies. He was not that easy to deal with. Moreover, there were other experts. It's that kid. The kid whose comprehension is comparable to Di Jianyi in the second round. In addition, many people also noticed this side. After seeing Lu Ming, they revealed a curious look. They wanted to know how outstanding Lu Ming's performance in the second round was. How strong was his actual combat power? Lu Ming walked step by step toward the battle tower. He was still far away and a few terrifying auras had locked onto him. Lu Ming. Jean Dunn whispered. His eyes were cold and murderous. Lu Ming from the Nine Nether Heavenly King Mansion. It's that kid who killed the prodigy of the Nine Nether Heavenly King Mansion. The two prodigies from the Nine Nether Heavenly King Mansion whispered. The cold ghost aura kept churning and emitting a terrifying sound. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.